well, you need to generate yourself leads, and right at the beginning of your journey, especially, I think generating leads via calls is one of the best way, because not just you're generating leads, but you're also building relationships. Now, obviously, in-person meetings with people, agents and landlords is far better, but we all know that right now it's probably not so easy to do that. So I think even with appointments, you can't even go and see agents right now. So good evening, everybody. Good evening. It's Istvan and Peter here. Hope you are all well. How are you doing, Peter?
I'm okay. I really missed you. It was a long time. It's been a while since last time we met. We had our live session.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like ages away. It feels like, I don't know, years, but it was only just before Christmas, guys. So really good to be back. Good to be back on air, and good to have you here. So yeah, welcome. So we thought we'd kick off the year with quite a relevant one for a lot of people. It's a lot about what can you do? Can you actually do anything in property? There's lots going on in the economy in general. The world is still a little bit crazy. We've got lockdowns, Brexit, and all the rest of it. So we thought, we'll put our little spin on it of what we think you can still do right now. Shouldn't stop you from doing anything in property. So we're going to talk about that today. So, of course, as always, we love to have your thoughts as well. So if you have any questions, anything that you want to add to our little session as well, feel free to comment, and we will display your questions and comments on the screen. So yeah, look forward to seeing your comments. So Peter, so we got a headline today, which we said how to make cash with property now. So could you maybe just give a little intro on what we're going to talk about this evening?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks for everybody to being here, and welcome to our new old members and guests who is watching with us, whether it's during the live or after the live. I think the headline, we choose this headline for a very reason, because we believe that's it's a great subject now, because even though we disappeared in the last couple of 2-3 weeks, we was working hard with Istvan in a bag, behind the skins, and we received a lot of questions regarding how shall I start my property journey? Shall I start now? Shall I start later? Shall I start with use this strategy or that strategy? Because everybody's scared about them. We all know the current situation regarding COVID and the Brexit and everything it affects the businesses, and a lot of business going down, and so yeah, it's a lot of things to think, guys. But I can tell you one thing definitely: property market is still open. There is still money to be made. We're making money every single day. We're qualifying new investors, and we qualifying new landlords, we're finding new landlords, new agents, we're selling deals, packaging deals to our investors, for ourselves as well. We keep deals for ourselves as well. We're negotiating deals sometimes in advance, so it delayed contract start date. That's how I'm calling it at the moment. So there's a lot of solution. How can we make money? How can we structure the contracts and everybody be happy? And that's what we're going to cover today, I believe. That's going to be the main subject, how we're making money with property now.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Paula. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us this evening. We also got Kenny. Kenny, good evening. Good to have you here too, Kenny.
Hi, Kenny. Hi, Charlotte.
Yeah, so like we just said, let's kick it off. So we have pulled together, some materials for this evening, and we wanted to just walk you through what we think that is still something that you can do, and a lot of things that you should do right now if you want to get started, or if you are struggling to see what your next steps are, what you should be doing. And we're going to kick it off with that. So we sort of put together a 3-step process that we believe that is a good way to do that. So first of all, so for those of you who are new to property and just want to sort of start, obviously you need to have a bit of an understanding of what you actually can do and can't do. So, there's loads of strategies in property investing. And for those of you who have been around for a little bit longer, you know very well that it's so easy to get lost in amongst all of them, because we all want to do everything and we all want to do lots of different things. But I think the most important thing is to understand what is actually possible and what can you really start with. So Peter, I'm sure you agree with that. There's so many strategies out there, but I guess should we maybe talk through a few of those strategies? So for people who are not familiar with them, we could start with a couple of those. So I'll kick it off with rent to rent being one of the ones that both Peter and myself have been involved in and still are. And so for those of you who don't know, so rent to rent is a strategy where you acquire a property as a single let, as a whole property from a landlord on a lease or a management contract basis. And then you run the property as a business. You either let it out as an HMO, so buy the rooms for your long-term tenants, or you use it as a serviced accommodation and you are allowing guests to stay in there on a short-term basis. So fantastic strategy. There's so many people in the industry who've made really good success with this. We've got one person coming next week talking to us, Giuseppe Leone. We had a chat with him just a couple of days ago, so he can tell you all about next week, about his successes and how good of a strategy that actually is. So Peter, one of your fortes is deal packaging. It's one thing that you've made your mark on over the last couple of years. So maybe you could tell people about what deal packaging is and why they should use that.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with what you just mentioned. It's very, very easy to get lost and finding the right way. Tonight, the reason why we choose this tonight's session, because I'm trying to thinking. I have tried to think back in the days when I started in property. I wanted to start in property, and I joined a number of different Facebook groups and social media, and tried to follow. I was trying to following people on Facebook, on Instagram, and was trying to find my way. People, what books recommend, what courses out there, what mentorship, shall I pay for mentorship, shall I pay for a course, or shall I start with course first and after a mastermind? So all these questions was had in my mind, and I'm sure most of the people, some of you guys who watching with us, you already started. Some of you just trying to start. That's why it's very, very important, so important to get as many knowledge as you can before you move in any direction. Property business is a business. It's no different from any other business. Obviously, if you don't know how it works, you can't do it. Do you? Can you? So it would be very, very hard for us, let's say, managing property if you don't know how to manage a property, because we have no experience. So first of all, it's very important to get as many knowledge as you can, and then choosing the right strategy. Where to get the knowledge? Shall you pay for it? And how to choose the right strategy? That's a really good question. I'm sure most of you asking these questions. I believe joining to Facebook groups and set up your social media profile on, at least on Instagram, on LinkedIn and Facebook, I think it's crucial. You can find people on LinkedIn. You can follow people on LinkedIn and sending connection requests to people who get involved in property investors, maybe other property sources. And you can find investors, you can find landlords, you can find other people just like yourself who's starting out, and you can see the comments, what they're talking about. You can see blogs, property related blogs on LinkedIn as well, and Facebook groups. I'm always saying I'm really a big fan of Facebook groups. You can join groups like ours or any other property related groups just by joining to them and just by listening to people what they say, even if you don't want to post anything as of now, but just by watching and listening what people saying and what people commenting, the huge knowledge there, and you can read a couple of books. You can pay for some courses, some online courses, but don't pay too much. Don't pay too much, because it might not be for you. So it might turns out later it would be too much for you, or it maybe is not for you. So don't spend too much money, because you can get a basic knowledge by absolutely free or for very limited funds. And once you know and understand, and once you feel yes, this is for me, I can do it, I can definitely do it, then you can start to think about what your second steps, which we're going to cover very soon. So what's your second steps, and shall you pay for it, or you shall not? That's another question we're going to cover very, very soon. So I believe the first stage is hugely important to get knowledge about what you're gonna do, because you're gonna get involved in property. That's great. A property is a business, just like any other business. So, and a lot of strategy. Even with the rent to rent, there are two different strategy tree, because you can do single let on rent to rent base, you can do HMO, and you can also do service accommodation. It's all free. It's completely different strategy, completely different marketing, completely different location might be. So it's very, very important. What's your location? You need to understand your location as well, and a lot of other things. So that's why it's crucial to first to get the knowledge for free, preferably for free or for very, very, very limited funds. Don't spend hundreds of thousands of pounds before you read at least 2-3 books and joining a couple of Facebook groups and go to LinkedIn and learning from people what they do. That's crucial. You can do everything. It sounds so much, but everything couple of days, a week or 2 weeks, you can get a huge knowledge and at least understand what you want to do and whether it's for you or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can only echo what you're saying. To be honest, it's all too easy just to pull money down the the drain and realize that you've become a course junkie and you spend thousands and you haven't really done a single thing. So, and there's a lot of free information out there. So make good use of it, guys. Our group is one of those where we give a lot of value for free. Like today, we by the time we finish with this little live, you will have learned something. So it's very good to just get out there. Obviously, can be time consuming to go to all the Facebook groups, but it is an investment of your time. I think that's a really, really important point. I think is you have to invest your time and effort right at the beginning so you can get something out of it later down the line. So you mentioned lots of things, Peter, but I think let's move on to something a bit more sort of substantial in terms of what people actually need to focus on. So once you sort of understand your strategy, whether that's buy to let, flips, rent to rent, deal packaging, whatever the case may be, there's lots of things, as you just mentioned, that you can do. I think one of the things that a lot of people overlook right at the start, I think it's really important, and we are putting a lot of emphasis on that. I know you are very hot on this, and I'm certainly becoming more and more, is marketing. So what people are saying, Peter was just saying, you are in a business and you're in the property business, but no business is different in terms of marketing. So you need to do it, otherwise if you don't, nobody knows that you exist without you marketing. So you have to put your message out there and make sure that people hear you and see you. So there's a few ways that you can do that in this day and age, and we always go on about social media being one of the biggest sort of revelations when it comes to marketing in this day and age, because a lot of it you can do for free. But even a free advertising can be just a waste of your effort excuse me, if you don't do it right. So one thing is quite important, and Peter, you are obviously much more of an expert in this, so you can always pitch in if you want. But getting your target market right from the start is super important. So if you are, for example, doing rent to rent, you want to make sure that you understand your target audience. So, for example, your landlords, your agents, and ultimately your tenants or your guests, depending on whether you're doing HMO or serviced accommodation in the end. So super important things, really, for you to understand who you're actually targeting. So you kind of need to just get yourselves in the shoes of those people and try and have a think of what they would be actually looking for. Because it's all too easy for us to think, oh, well, look, everyone wants my services because, that's the best service ever. But unfortunately, we all heard of the case of Kodak, for example, many moons ago. They were still making the original films for taking photos, where everyone's moved on to digital. So, trying to sell the films to people nowadays, and even, to be honest, trying to sell cameras to people, you'd have a very hard sell on your hands, because everyone's got some very clever mobile phones that take as good, if not better, pictures than those cameras back in the day. So that's kind of, what I'm alluding to here. Just, trying to understand your market, what people are actually looking for, and then, you can market to them the best possible way.
Yes, absolutely. I fully agree with you. Marketing is so crucial. And after obviously, good evening, Tony. After you understand at least the basic strategies available in property, and obviously you understand, you need to do the second stage. Let's say second steps. You need to understand marketing, because marketing is going to be your best friend. So setting up your social media profiles, whether you like it or not, and start to posting about yourself and your journey. Before you ask, even if you haven't got a deal or you didn't have any deal, and why would anybody be investing with me, or why would anybody give me deal? Because you're going to be consistently posting on all social media platforms, at least 3. Choose 3. I would myself recommend Facebook, Instagram, definitely, and LinkedIn. Use these people, getting comment on people's posts, getting in touch with them, messaging them, asking them, and also getting all the knowledge, and also start to post. Once you feel confident, start to post, because this tonight live, it's more about how to make cash with property now. That's why, because you asked me before, Istvan, what I would do if I would just start now. If I would just start now and I had no knowledge, I would straight away jump into stage 1 and steps 1, and get all the knowledge I can. And the second steps, I would start to set up my social media profile very, very quick. And once you choose your strategy, how you choose your strategy, look out to your window. Where are you now? Where are you at the moment? Because believe me, the best possible thing you can do, regardless what's your medium or future aims or goals or strategy is going to be, but the best and the easiest way to start something very, very close to you, because it's not going to be time consuming, and also you're not going to need to analyze in details and all the kind of stuff, because you're going to understand. Nobody understands better your streets and your city than yourself, especially certain areas and streets within your city, because that's the most important thing. A professional property investor, sourcer or investor has to know the location where you source and package to investors or for yourselves. You need to understand not just what city you want to source, but also within a city. Every city, let's be honest, there are good parts and bad parts. There are good streets, bad streets. So you need to understand. If you try to go to another city, or maybe 50, 100 miles away from where you live, because you really fancy with one strategy and you believe that strategy would work over there, believe me, choose a strategy when you see it next to you. If you're in a big city center, rent-to-rent service accommodation, great. If you are a bit smaller city, or it's outside of the city center, you might gonna be good with the HMO. HMO could work anywhere. Service accommodation could work very, very well as well, anywhere. However, you're gonna need to be better in marketing and with more experience, I believe, because every city, big city especially, but every city close to city center, great for service accommodation. You're always going to have demands for tourism or for people coming, business travelers, corporates. City center always works within 1, 2, maximum 3 miles. It will always work. Outside of city center, you can find properties for buy-to-lets, for investors, for yourself. Depends on your personal circumstances and the financial circumstances. We're going to cover in the next steps. So once you choose the closest to you possible and location, and it's going to save you a lot of time, because you don't need to analyze the area. You know exactly what streets works well and what is not. You're not going to need to travel away, because any viewing is going to cost you time, especially if you have a job, if you have a day job, and it's going to be just first as a part-time job. You're going to need to save as much time you can. So the best way Find something, the strategy which works well, close to your location, whether it's HMO rent. I would recommend rent to rent, definitely either HMO or service accommodation. And if you haven't got enough funds because every rent to rent, setting up a rent to rent, regardless what other people say, it's going to cost you between 5, 6, 7, 8,000 pounds, even a rent to rent. But you can find JV partners, like joint venture partners, like when other people are investing in your deal and you find a deal and other people are investing in you, or you can even sell it and package it for sourcing fee for other people. That's the easiest and quickest way on earth to get and make money, even if you have no knowledge, no previous experience. But sourcing and packaging deals for investors, that's the easiest way to start. That's how I started, and a lot of other people started. All you need to do is put your efforts, put your knowledge, because a lot of people out there struggling at the moment. They have a money in a bank. They have maybe the business is not going in the best way, but they have a money and they want to invest in property, because property is always the safest investment of all. And everybody knows it. Everybody want to invest in property. And most of the people hasn't got the time or hasn't got the knowledge, or maybe none of them. And that's why it comes you who obviously understand the property strategy, because you already choose one. You understand your location, because as I said, choose very, very close to you something. So you already have the strategy, you already have a location, and you already have a social media profile where you're telling people what you do, what you're gonna do. You're sourcing for investors. You're gonna packaging this for investors. You're doing viewings. You're putting in a Facebook groups and posts. You're putting numbers. You calculate the numbers. That's how much profit I'm gonna make for my investors. So you keep posting and keep telling people what you're doing and what you're gonna do. And that's the easiest and quickest way to start, even now, because the property market is still open.
Yeah. We have a nice comment from Tony. Tony likes the backdrop. Thanks very much, Tony. We do as well.
It's hard work for me.
It's always good to get some good feedback on things like this. Thanks, Tony. We also have another question. So we have Richard. Richard, would you be able to please go right above the live and just click on the StreamYard link so we could display your name on it and your little and your picture as well. It makes it just a bit more personable. But so good evening, guys. We're marketing via social media. Where you using your personal account or create a business Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram account? Peter, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
I love this question, Richard. I really love this question because it's a great question. That means for me, you already understand and you already know. You might already have accounts, or at least you understand what it's all about. Because it's a great question. You need to use both. You need to use your personal profile, and you need to use all the accounts you mentioned: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. You need to have your personal account and you need to have your business account, and you need to post from business and personal one as well. And you also need to share your business profile on your personal one within certain groups, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups. Be careful. You need to understand the group rules. So you only can share into groups where admin allow sharing and contents, but you can reach much more people if you use both strategy.
Absolutely. Hopefully that answers your question, Richard. But give us a shout if there's more that you'd like us to clarify. So yeah, thanks for your question. Paula also likes the backdrop. Thanks, Paula. Yeah, appreciate your feedback on that. It's good to hear, guys.
We use the buy, refurb, refinance strategy in order to get this done. But it was a great, and it was hard work. It was hard work.
It was, yeah. So Richard says thank you. No problem, Richard. Any more questions, please just feel free to fire it through, and we'll try our very best to answer them. So yeah, so I think you said a lot about marketing and what people need to do. I think one thing I'd like to add on top of it as well. So establishing your profile and what you just talked about is all really good from an online marketing point of view. But I guess one of the other things that also is kind of part of your marketing, and it's kind of a blend between marketing and sales, is actually making calls to agents and landlords. And I think it's a really important one because well, you need to generate yourself leads, and right at the beginning of your journey, especially, I think generating leads via calls is one of the best way, because not just you're generating leads, but you're also building relationships. Now, obviously, in-person meetings with people, agents and landlords is far better, but we all know that right now it's probably not so easy to do that. So I think even with appointments, you can't even go and see agents right now. So basically, all you've got to do is make calls, and making calls actually is something that is really going to help you, because, well, let's face it, you're going to get rejections. That's just no two ways about it. It's just going to happen. But what happens is you get to understand why you're getting rejections, and you get to deal with them. And if you understand the process, that after every 9 or 10 or so rejections, you're likely to get a yes or an acceptance, then you are learning, and you're going to be in a much better way once you sort of get through that first initial rejections. So cold calls are really important. It allows you to explain to people about your services, and also how your offering can benefit them. So, from a point of view of an agent, you could be a steady source of properties taken off the market, because they can come to you and you take the deals. So they're not going to sit on the market for many months, and they can get a nice little fee out of it. So you are an easy income generating source for them. So let's not forget that, guys. I think people tend to sort of pedestalize agents and look at them as a very scary sort of thing to call. Actually, you have to think about it. It kind of works both ways. I'm not saying they need us, but we could easily form a great relationship that benefits both parties. So cold calls is one of those. So I know Peter makes a lot of those, and certainly his team as well. So he'll agree with me that how important cold calls are. We just got one more comment here. So sorry, Istvan, I can't seem to update my profile for this group. So yeah, you can see my picture. That's okay, Richard. It's just a little link right above the video. If you can see that, maybe there's a link you can click on. That's where it is. But don't worry if you can't find it. No problem. I can see you in my other screen, so no problem at all. So Peter, I think what we said is we're going to do a 3-step process. So we talked about right at the beginning in terms of choosing your strategy. Step 2 is getting your marketing really up there, so you get your message out. And we got the 3rd step as well, which is actually more around setting your goals and making sure that you're on the right path. So I think one of the most important ones out of it is actually just creating yourself some goals for short, medium, and long term. And I think we're all guilty of it. Just get cracking on and doing the work, and then looking back and go, well, actually, probably could have done more out of my time. Could have been more efficient. Had I been more planful. So, having short, medium, and long-term goals is a very, very important thing. So what could be a short-term goal? I guess you could put something like, in the first 3 months of my year, or first 3 months after I've completed my course, or first 3 months of my mastermind, or whatever you're doing, you maybe want to complete 1 or 2 deals. I think for a short space of time, like 3 months, you probably want to set yourself a lowish target of maybe just 1 deal, because especially if right at the start, it's not always as easy as we'd all like it to be honest. So it can be difficult. It can be difficult with the agents, work gets in the way, or whatever the case may be. So set yourself a target that you realistically can achieve. And, you could set yourself a much more aggressive target after you got your first deal. But I think that tends to be one of the most difficult ones to achieve, the first one. And for medium goals, for example, you could set yourself something like, in the next 2 years, I'm going to sign 10 rent-to-rent deals. Most of those maybe I'll package onto investors, and some of those I'll keep myself as well. So again, it's a nice sort of steady target. And, at the end of all that, you may be in a position that you could leave your job if that's one of your targets, and maybe you could do property investing full time. And for your longer term targets, perhaps you could do something like, I want to be a large multi-million pound developer. People like to move on to bigger and better things as they sort of learn the trade of property investing, they move on to different things. So, but equally, you could be setting yourself a target of having 100 rent-to-rents because you want to be rinsing and repeating of what you've done and what you learned in the first couple of years. So it's completely up to you. What are your goals? What are your aspirations? Sometimes it's down to how old you are, for example. Someone in their 50s might have completely different goals from someone who's in their 20s. So just have a think about what drives you, why you're doing this, and then set your goals around that. Peter, anything I missed? Anything you want to add to that?
No, absolutely, fully agree with you on what you said. In regarding the cold calls, that's guys, you can't miss the opportunity to make the cold calls.
Love the cold calls.
I love the cold calls by other people. What is the most scary to calling agent and all this stuff? I literally couldn't wait when I started to source the properties. Everything was ready. I had my knowledge. I knew exactly what I'm gonna do. I had my business plan for the next 3 months, next 6 months, next year, next 3 and 5 years plan. And it's not like some bragging, but honestly, I achieved so far. I managed to achieve almost all, even the optimistic one, and that's why it's so important. If you don't put it in a paper what exactly you want, and you don't imagine what you really want, and you need to thinking every day like a mindset. You need to push yourself to the target, because in 3 months I need the first deal. Because you're telling yourself, in 3 months, my short-term goal is I need a lead for the first 3 months. So you're gonna need to make a lot of phone calls, and you're gonna need to post a lot on social media for investors in order for you to find a deal and also sell the deal. And in 3 months, I can guarantee you're gonna get that deal. And remember, this is a time when it's a lockdowns and everything is slow, everything is home. Perfect opportunity, guys, to pick some knowledge, learn, networking on social media with people like ourselves or anybody else. Perfect time to start to plan your business up and running. And by the time you can even make phone calls, you can even make deals. You can even make deals within a couple of weeks. If you set up everything rightly and if you plan everything rightly, you can even make a deals in a couple of weeks. But let's say in 3 months' time, definitely you can make phone calls. It's hugely important to be prepared, to get the knowledge, because this is a time when you can planning is important, business goal is important, and also the detailed plan, how you're going to achieve that plan, because goals is important, but if you haven't got a right plan for it, detailed plan, what exactly you're going to do, which is part of making phone calls, making posts on social media, engaging with people, but also tracking all of this. So you need, let's say I want a deal in 3 months, so I need to call 50 agents per day, let's say, or 20 or 30. It's 100 agents or 150 or 200 agents per week. I can guarantee you're going to find a deal. And if you have a good deal, I can guarantee you're going to find the investors as well.
Peter, I've just got a question from Richard on this. Actually, it might be quite relevant to what you're saying. So, with regards to sourcing deals for investors, finding an investor would be via networking. I assume either property events or online. Would you say social media is the best way or only way to find investors during lockdown?
Absolutely, Richard. Absolutely, 100%. I personally, I never attended any networking events in person. Honestly, I was maybe the one from the property sector, because honestly, everybody I ever spoken, even Istvan and a lot of other people, I learned from myself. They all advising go to both, go to property network events and use social media as well. And I fully agree with them. You should do both, but especially in current time, in current situation, social media, it's a great way. Just don't forget, sit down, choose your strategy, think about what you want to do, what's your message you want to pass this into investors. Imagine who is your investor. In marketing, we call create your dream buyer. Who you want to sell that deal, where those people hang around. Let's say I just told you, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, especially in Facebook groups, you can find these people. But what shall you say to them? tell them about yourself. Tell them, don't deny if you're just starting out, but tell them you're sourcing on this area. Make 2-3 posts per week and tell them consistently what you're gonna do. You're gonna source deals, let's say in Manchester. I'm gonna source in Manchester rent to service accommodation. I had a viewing. It didn't work. The numbers didn't stack up. And once you find a deal, you still you put it on a post on any of the groups, and you just tell investors, this is my deal. This is how much money you can make, and maybe some people are gonna come and pick it up. It might be not, but maybe the next one or the next one. Listen, a lot of these fell through when you're starting out. I had a couple of these fell through. I never give up. I told myself I had my plan. That's why it's so important, the plan, which I will follow and which I will achieve. So it doesn't matter how many deals fell through. It doesn't matter how many investor or deal I find, or I didn't, or I don't. I will find my deals. And you will find, Richard, your deals and anybody else, as long as you know the message you want to pass to those people who you want to investing with you.
Yeah, very good. Hopefully that helps you, Richard. If there's any more questions, obviously, please feel free to put into the comments. I really appreciate your questions, by the way. It's great to see you're engaging and asking good questions. So,
and also, sorry, just to interrupt you, Istvan. We're gonna give you Richard. I'm sure we're gonna give you Richard and anybody else who's interested. We're gonna launch our courses, free courses before you ask. So you can jump on the course. A couple of days it's gonna go live on our website. And Richard, we have our marketing course, property marketing course, exactly how you start to build up your business from scratch. All the knowledge we ever learned from other people, and all the knowledge we learned from our all experience in life in the last 10, 15 years, and the last 3 years definitely from property itself. All the knowledge is there, and all you need to do, just follow it. And it's absolutely free.
Yep. Absolutely. So one other thing that we haven't really mentioned yet, which was we were talking about, setting goals, just to get back to our little a process that we were talking about. So we spoke about having short, medium, and long-term goals. And we also wanted to mention that it's really important to have a fairly detailed business plan in terms of how you're actually going to achieve those goals, because having goals is great, right? So but let's face it, until it's put down on a piece of paper with some measurable and actionable steps of how you're actually going to get there, that's more of a dream than actually a goal, really. So so that's something that we wanted to emphasize as well. For example, if you want to get your first deal, like I said earlier, in the first 3 months, then you probably need to get out and actually do some actions, right? So one of the things that we mentioned earlier is cold calls, or just calling agents, is quite important. So, but how are you going to do that? How many of those are you going to make? Are you going to do 2 calls a month? Is that going to get you your one deal? Or do you have to make maybe 10 calls a week and for you to actually land that deal? So it's one of those that you have to be honest with yourself and actually just sit down and work it out. Now, a really quick sort of rule of thumb is, for every 10 calls you make, you're very likely to get about 9 rejections. So, some people are better than others. For some people, it may be 14 rejections, and out of 15, you get the one yes. For others who are really, really good, there may be, 2 out of 10, for example. But in any case, I think you have to set yourself a certain target that you are going to do every week consistently, because consistency, again, is one of those things that needs to be applied to your business plan and to your goals, to be able to achieve your goals. Similar to making calls, but also the social media posting that Peter was just talking about for Richard, that has to also happen in a consistent manner. Now, we do these weekly lives for a reason, for many reasons, but one of the reasons is because we want to be consistent about our social media presence. But also we want to be consistently giving value to people. So, doing it every week is a lot of effort. Don't get me wrong. We have to be here every sort of 7:30 every Tuesday, but we enjoy it. But it's consistency. You see, we here every week, and the similar sort of approach you have to apply to your posts as well. sometimes it can be difficult because you're like, oh, what am I going to post about? I haven't done anything this week. But I guarantee you there's always something that you can come up with. There's always something that's relevant to someone out there that you could post about. If anything, you could just post something about what you've learned this week, or perhaps even that you haven't made all those calls that you planned to do because something happened, or maybe you didn't quite feel right after the first 20 rejections and you didn't feel like making the next 5 calls. We're all human, so there's nothing wrong with posting about those sort of things. But it's about consistency. It's about getting your message out there. I think it's really important. And one of your other favorites, Peter, I think, is actually tracking all these things. It's all great to put down the numbers on a piece of paper that I'm going to make 10 calls today and I'm going to do 5 posts on social media in the next few days. But you need to track those. I can say whatever I want, but if I track it, then I'll make sure I do it. So it kind of keeps you honest to yourself, and you laugh about this, but I think it's equally important to be honest to yourself, because if you can't be honest to yourself, then it's going to be difficult to achieve those goals. I think. Anything you want to add to that, Peter? Leon?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially you mentioned my favorite tracking and how I love it. Honestly, guys, I really love the measurements. I really love putting targets in a paper and achieve them and tracking them. A conversion rate, normal conversion rate in marketing is 10%. So if you're making 10 phone calls, you should get 1 yes. That's so simple. Literally almost everything. If you get a better luck, maybe you're gonna have better, maybe 20-30% conversion as you're moving ahead. But that's how you have to take it. It's a profession. It's a profession like any other business. You became a professional property investor and actually a marketer. So you need to track yourself. You need to put targets and you need to measure them, because without measuring them, sometimes I'm just calling a few agents. Sometimes I'm not calling nobody. That business is not going to know where. We need to serve investors. We need to serve ourselves. We need to find good deals. And you're not going to find good deals unless if you're making a certain number of phone calls. I think my team knows exactly, and they really hate me because of this. Because especially when every Monday it's a report, how many they mail, how many emails they collected, and all the emails we collecting and we doing email marketing, which is again a very important thing. But we haven't got enough time to cover all the other parts. But the main, because we promised, it's about how to make cash with property now. That's the 3 most important steps you have to make, and this is the best time, guys. Again, it's a lockdown. We closed in. Agent is still open. Investors still investing. So what you have to do? You either finding this for yourself, or you either finding this for investors who are busy with their business, and we both win, because we getting paid for sourcing fee, and they're gonna get all the profit for their investment when they're investing in any property you find for them. Because finding good deals, finding good properties, good apartments for service accommodations, or good houses for HMOs is not easy. And negotiating with landlords day and day, and the agents, and 4 or 5 days falling through until the 6th get accepted on the terms, that's going to work for your investor and for yourself as well. So that's so important. You always need to look at what the deal you would take. If you say, I would take this deal, then that's the deal you need to source for your investors.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that kind of sums it all up really nicely in terms of what we wanted to say to you guys today. Hopefully that helps you. I think it's important to understand that, look, there's lots of bad news out there, but I think there's still good time to make cash in property now. And, put a plan together, understand the strategies you want to follow, or strategy you want to follow. And also, look, rent to rent is still a great strategy. Deal packaging is a great strategy. You can generate good cash with both of those. There's still great opportunities out there, for both of those deals. You can negotiate some good terms. Peter just mentioned, let's not take any deal that's out there, but you can actually negotiate some good terms, because people are maybe a little bit more lenient in terms of negotiations like they were perhaps a few months ago. And there's still things like good good opportunities for things like flips out there. The prices are holding strong despite Brexit and COVID. So, property market is still looking fairly good. So I think it's good to be sort of positive about. And the fact that the property market is still open is also very good news for us as well. So guys, hopefully this was helpful. We certainly loved your interaction, your questions, and everything else. We've got a couple of messages just come through actually. So thank you, Paula. So look, inspiring pep talk. Yeah, absolutely. Let's make it happen for sure, Paula. Yes, and I'm sure you will as well. Tony, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your questions, Richard, as well. And yeah, hopefully you find it useful. So next week, guys, we've got Giuseppe Leone, who's from Bristol. He's as you can hear from his name, he's an Italian guy who's done really well with rent-to-rent in Bristol. But he will tell you all about it next week. So same time next week, come and join us. And we have a really good chat with Giuseppe. He's a fun guy, full of life, like most Italians are. So I'm sure we're going to have great fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So so come and join us. Richard says, thank you. Very helpful. Yeah, absolutely, Richard. That's exactly what we're here for. That's why we do this. So, next week, come and bring your questions. We're here to answer them. So, yeah, thanks, guys. We shall sign off now.
Thank you, everyone.
Good evening. Bye-bye.